Hello, 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 viewers. You're welcome to Woman Without Limits. Remember, that's what I always tell you, that that's who you are. And nobody can limit you but you yourself. I am Reverend Kathy Kiuna, and it's a delight to be here today. Hey, our story though, my goodness. You better buckle your safety belt. Today on set, I am with an amazing, amazing man that you're going to love. I'm telling you right now. I'm just preempting. By the name Apostle Felix Okoh. He is originally from Nigeria, and he is known for his vibrancy in preaching. Oh, my goodness. First and foremost, he's so vibrant and then so funny. So you get saved while laughing. Amazing, amazing man of God that I believe is going to revolutionize your life even as you listen to this story. He moved and started a ministry, his church. It is called the House of Treasures in 2011 in South Africa. So we even want to find out how he relocated and what's up with that. And so I want you to get ready. I don't want to tell you a lot of things because I want him to be the one to say. And so would you welcome with me Apostle Felix Okoh?
Thank you.
Hey.
So good to be here.
So good to have you.
Oh, my God.
In Nairobi, Kenya.
Wow. I've watched this program for so many years, and I never thought that I would ever be here.
But you'll
and
be
now
the one.
I found myself here. This is incredible.
This is amazing.
Thank
I
you.
am so happy to host you.
Thank you.
And, you know, people ask me, so how come you have men on Woman Without Limits?
Right.
And I said, read the theme again and the topic again. It is Woman Without
Limit. Right.
We're not limited.
That's right.
So we'll have men, we'll have women, we'll have leaders, we have every kind of person coming onto the show.
Amen.
And we thank God for the impact that it has made.
Amen.
Over the years.
Wow.
And I want us now, people know you as this flamboyant, amazing, wonderful man of God.
Okay.
But I want to go back to the beginning and ask, who is Felix Okoh? Where are you coming from? How old are you? And, you know, all those.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's quite a long story. Well, Felix Okoh, actually I have well, my names are two and plus my surname. So my name is Felix Ngozi Okoh. So Ngozi in our language means blessing. Yeah, so that's that name came because the day my father moved into his first house ever, his first house he built was the day I was born. So he named me Blessing, which is Ngozi in our language.
Ngozi, so
yes.
You came in with blessings.
Right,
That's
right.
Awesome.
So I was born 15th November 1971. And so I'm 53 years old this year.
Right.
And, so,
you make 53 look very good.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. We're trying as much as possible not to grow old.
We have to try, eh?
Yep.
Yeah.
You know. So I attended my primary secondary school in Agbo and then went to attend University of Nigeria in Nsukka and graduated at 22. Got a job with Peugeot Automobile because I studied mechanical engineering. I have a BSc in mechanical engineering.
Okay.
So I worked with the Peugeot cars. I was a line engineer at Peugeot car.
In Nigeria?
In Nigeria. So I worked there for a few... so just immediately I graduated, I traveled to UK. And I was in UK for about a year. So when I returned back to Nigeria, I now gave my life to Christ.
How? How did you give your life to Christ?
Amazingly, so when I resigned from my job in Peugeot, I traveled to the UK.
Right.
On my return, I was staying with my uncle, who now, lives in Lagos. And they had this lady in the back room of their property. She's renting the back room. And she's a born-again Christian. And she kept, then I was smoking, drinking. She will see me smoking. She said, "You are a man of God."
She would.
And I was like, "Which man of God? Man
Leave me.
And she kept saying that you will preach this gospel around the world. And I didn't understand what this woman was saying because I have no clue. I mean, I grew up in the Catholic, where even while we're in Catholic church, our parents are in church. We go outside to talk while they are busy doing their thing.
Smoking and drinking.
Right.
Yeah, like
so
it's not...
that's how we grew up.
Right.
And so, and now pointing me that I'm going to be a man of God, she kept saying this. And then not just that, my auntie, that's my uncle's wife that I'm living with, was also born again. And eventually she invited me to church one day. She kept pressing on me. That's this thing about importunity and persistency and consistency.
Like, don't give up on somebody.
Yes, and this woman kept pressuring me every day she sees me. You are going to be a man of God.
That's
so one day
amazing.
I said, when she now, look, I thought, before this woman wear me out, let me just go to church to please her. And at this point I was 22, 23.
Right.
And I decided, okay, I went with this woman to church.
Yeah.
I got there was a bishop was preaching. His name is Bishop Mike Okoh. And he was preaching, and this man was roaring like a lion on the pulpit, just like how Bishop Alan preaches. And I'm telling you, he made altar call. How till today, if you ask me how I left my seat to the front, I have no explanation. I just knew I was saying Jesus come into my life. And I gave my life to Christ, and it was so radical. I went from having 6 girlfriends to giving my life to Christ, no smoking, no drinking.
Immediately?
No, I went to the 6 women, told them I am now a child of God. My conversion was like super quick.
So it was God that was using this lady,
right,
to woo you,
yes,
into salvation, because he knew what he had.
Yes.
Were you thinking about, how it's going to affect your future?
I never, look, when I now gave my life to Christ and I began to live this life, I became so radical for Christ.
Yeah.
So radical.
So
like
when you told the girls, you meant it?
No, I meant it. In fact, the last girl, her name is Rita. I remember particularly going to her house, and when she really loved me. And
did you really love her?
Well, I had 6, so I mean, there is no way. Yeah, well. So, and I told Rita. And
you loved them all.
Yeah, I told Rita. Rita said to me, "Okay, I hear you." And she went into the room and came out stark naked. I flew over the couch and ran out of her house. And
she
that
came
was
to see. Let's see.
No, let's see whether
your
salvation is real.
Yeah.
So I ran out of that house and I lived a holy life from that day. Like, that's why till today I still can. Maybe some people are different.
Yeah.
When people say they gave their life to Christ,
yeah,
and they still doing their old lifestyle, I don't have that experience.
So you completely turned
Mine
around.
was a 360-degree turn. Like, everything I was doing stopped on the day I gave my life to Christ.
What?
From that day till today, I have not smoked. From that day till today, I have not drank alcohol. From that day till today, I don't know anything about cheating on a woman or having girlfriends when I'm not married. Yes.
Seriously?
Yes.
What about the friends who surrounded you at that time? I'm sure they were not born again.
At that point, I had to change my friends.
Okay.
Because, I mean, you have these drinking friends. The Bible says that evil communication corrupts good manners. There is no way you can company with sinners and still live a righteous life.
They're going to pull you down.
Yeah, I changed my friends. I became so committed in church that it was just not even possible for my friends to be comfortable around me. Because if you're around me, all you will hear is Bible. Because I was literally reading my Bible, finishing the Bible every month.
What do you mean?
I fit from Genesis to Revelation.
Every month you would finish it?
Yes.
Stop.
Yes.
That's all you were doing?
That's why today, I mean, I can quote 500 scriptures right now. I'm not joking. They used to call me walking Bible in Bible school. I'm serious.
Because after that, you did go to Bible school?
Yes, I did go to Bible school.
So, okay, did you then have a mind of you're going to serve God? When did that come in?
Okay, so that came in a process. When I got born again, then something happened. I was now my uncle that I was staying with, he was living foul. He's not born again. His wife was. And he's been trying to get his wife to be on born again or get her out of this born again thing. Now I joined.
She's too much.
And now I'm living in his house.
Yeah.
So 2 of us combined was driving him crazy. And so he now called my dad and says, your son has gone bananas.
He's mad.
This boy everything is church. Then my father came from the village with all his brothers. and they came to meet my uncle, and they called me in, and my aunties, and they called me in like somebody that stole. And my father looked at me and said to me, you know, I feel sorry. After all the deliberations, and he said, I feel sorry for you that you have chosen this path of this born-again thing. He said, but most of all, I feel sorry for myself that you are my first son. And that was the conclusion of that meeting. And he said to my uncle,
the blessing now.
Yes.
Because he named you blessing because you came with
Right,
blessings.
right.
Now he's like,
but you see, he didn't understand all these
Of
things
course,
going on, what
of
God
course,
was doing.
of
So
course.
he now instructed my uncle that if I ever go to church again from that day, that church, he should chase me out of the house. So I came back from service and my things were by the staircase. I left the house and went to stay in the church for a whole year. Remember, this church where I went to stay does not have windows, no doors. I was sleeping on benches for 1 year. And all I did was pray that year.
Nobody came for you?
Nobody came for me, no one. Only my mother came in the tail end before she passed on, you know. So I was sleeping on benches and, you know, just all I had, I cut a stick because the area where the church is was very swampy and there were snakes all over. So I prayed 12 to 4 every day for 1 year. And I will have that stick
12
walking around.
midnight?
Yes.
To 4
a.m.
a.m.
for 1 year.
Every night?
Every day. And then after that 1 year, one of my friend who joined the department that I was serving, every time service finished, he would say, let's go home. He was a young man my age, you know. He would say, he just got a good job with Mobil,
Right.
the oil company.
Yeah.
Let's go home. And I would say, no, I'm staying to pray. Let's go home. Little did he know that I was homeless.
So he didn't know.
He didn't know.
He thought you were just another young.
Then one day he insisted, this your prayer is too much. Let's go home together. And I now sat him down and said, I have no place to go. And that's how I went to his house. And he took me to he just rented a 3-bedroom apartment, bought a car, and he didn't know how to drive. So I was driving him around.
I'm curious. I'm curious. Before we get on to driving him around, I'm just curious. Your family never really cared? Like your dad didn't come to look for you?
Like, it's crazy. Like, he had already told me that he has nothing to do with me.
And that's it. Did they even suspect you were somewhere?
My mother, obviously, you know, a mother will always care.
Yes.
So I don't know how my mother sneaked out
And she
to
found
come and
you.
see me in church where I was staying.
Right.
And that day I led her to Christ. I sat with her and I told her this Jesus that I found. And my mother knelt in front of me and I led her to Christ. As she left, a month later I had a dream. Or in the dream, I saw her, she wanted to fall off a cliff and she was bidding me goodbye, you know. And as I had that dream, the next day, my auntie now, that's my uncle's wife, I saw her coming in church. I said, my mom is dead. She says, how did you know? I said, the Lord showed me yesterday, you know.
Please tell me she didn't jump off the cliff.
No, she didn't, but
Okay,
she
it was
passed
just
on.
she passed
okay.
on.
She had a heart attack.
It was just you dreaming that
Yeah, it was
she was
my
going
dream.
to
Yeah, that she was going to pass on, you know. So that's how my story went.
Did
you
it
know.
affect you? Her death?
It did. Obviously, look, I mean, I was a young man. I was 23, 24.
Yeah.
I was still very young.
Yeah.
And, you know, it's just that one became so tough. My bishop brought us up with so much militancy in prayers, in terms of serving God. I dedicated my life to serving God from early. And so, you know, that my life journeyed in that manner. So I stayed with this guy. So now where the call came was while I was at this guy's house.
So you are the one who drove? You drove the guy, he didn't know how to
Drove him
drive?
around. So what I was still going for my prayers in the night.
The midnight to 4 a.m.
Yes,
never stopped?
never stopped.
Even so while you stayed with him?
Yes. So I came back from one of those prayers in the morning and I sat down. He was preparing. He wanted to go to work early. He leaves around 5 a.m. So I came back around that time, about 5:30 a.m. Then he left me while I was sitting in the couch and walked out to go to work. As he walked out, I laid my head down. I was awake all of a sudden, I left my body. I left my body and I'm watching myself laying down and I'm thinking I'm dead. So it was a trance. And as I'm watching myself, I was sucked out by a suction. And I landed in a burning bush. Now I'm kneeling down in this bush and there was a table in front of me and I'm looking down. I looked under the table. I saw 2 feet with 2 holes. I'm thinking, no, man, this is something I've heard in the Bible. I looked up and there was someone wearing a white robe. And I looked at his face. I couldn't because there was light beaming out from his eyes. And I said, Lord, what are you doing here? And he said, son, I've called you into ministry as a pastor. And I said, Lord, I don't want to pastor in Nigeria. He said to me, look around. Does this place look like? I came back to my body.
Hey.
So I knew I wasn't going to pastor in Nigeria.
In Nigeria?
Yeah, I knew.
He said, what?
He said to me, does this
he
place
said,
look
around.
like? Look around you.
And it didn't look like Nigeria.
He said, does this place look like? He didn't even mention any country.
The minute you said that you woke
does
up?
This place look like? The same thing sucked me back into my body. I said, what just happened to me?
Oh my God.
You know? So, and from
there... Look at the interviewer flabbergasted.
From there, amazing. From there,
wow.
I still kept serving the Lord. And I went to Bible school, finished my Bible school. They posted me to the Victoria Island branch to be an assistant pastor to the pastor of the Victoria Island branch of Trem and served under him. And then they recalled all of us that our set from the Bible school, they recalled us back to the headquarters. And they now started posting each one to go pastor a church, not as assistants.
Right.
And they didn't post me. I was the only one excluded from that list.
After you're the prayer warrior, you're the one reading
and I'm
the Bible
even not just that, I'm one of my bishop's favorite in my class. So anyway.
Did that offend you?
No, it didn't. I just wanted to know why. Because I probably thought they kept me so I can serve in headquarters.
Did you ask why?
I went to. So I made an appointment to see Bishop. When I got there, he wasn't there. He traveled to the U.S. And I met Mom. I said to Mom, why was I not posted? He says, I don't even know. Because you like one. She even said it. You like one of Bishop's favorite. So I said, okay, let me book the appointment for next week, Wednesday. Because our services are Tuesdays and Thursdays. And then Sundays.
Yeah.
So I booked another appointment for Wednesday. Came back that Wednesday. He says Bishop had to go for emergency meeting in Uyo, that's somewhere in Nigeria. And I said, okay, Mom, let me tell you what happened. So me and my cousin, we went to apply for Canadian visa. At that time, there was a sanction on Nigeria by Canada. So they moved their embassy from Nigeria to Ghana.
Yeah.
So they said we cannot. I wanted to apply for visa for Canada. So we went to Ghana. We got to Ghana. They said to us that because I've not traveled anywhere, I didn't want to use the passport I used for UK had expired. So I went with a brand new passport. They said they don't give visas to virgin passports. So we went to Canada to go and get a Canadian visa, me and my cousin.
Right.
And we got there. They told us that they don't give visa to virgin passports. So we came back to Nigeria and, we then met with some old friend of ours who told us, he says, look, if you want to disvirgin your passport, I can put visas for you, then you can go back for the interview for Canada. So he took our passports and a month later he calls us that the visas are out. So he puts Chinese visa on my cousin's passport, puts South African visa on mine. Then we now rescheduled our appointment for Canadian embassy to go and get the Canadian visa. Then I now went for my appointment with, I booked an appointment to see my father. Because I still haven't been able to see him. Now, when I got to the appointment, Mommy says, he's traveled to Uyo. That is not around. And I forgot to mention it to him when he came back from the US that you were not posted. Then as we were sitting, we started talking about so many other things, ministry, life. And then I said, Mom, Amazingly, my passport just came out. I got South African visa, but I want to apply for Canadian visa. I want to visit Canada. My mom looks like her face changed. I mean, she's very prophetic.
Yeah.
Her face changed, and she was staring at me like she was seeing somebody behind me. And then she says, come around the table. I came around her table. She says, kneel down. Puts her hand on me. I say, I release you to go to South Africa to take over. I'm like, okay, I don't know anyone in South Africa. I don't know. I have no clue where South Africa is.
You never even thought about it.
And like the only thing I heard about South Africa was those apartheid fights and Soweto and all that.
So only bad.
Everything bad, nothing good. And so, and the song that one guy sang from Nigeria, Majek Fashek, that says, Free Mandela, that's all we knew. I mean, I didn't even know anything,
Anything
clue.
about
and
South
she says,
Africa.
I release you to go. I'm like, Mom, she says, son, it's time to leave.
For South Africa.
Life.
That you have never thought about.
I left that office. I spoke to one of my friends who we finished Bible school together. His name is also Felix. I said, Mom, just release me now to go to South Africa. He says, hey, I know someone in South Africa, but he's a drug dealer. That's the only problem. And I didn't have a cent. Now I can't go to my parents. Then my cousin, his brother has sent him 300,000 naira those years.
Right.
I'm talking 25 years ago.
Yeah.
Had sent him that kind of money so that he would be able to, do some errands for himself and prepare for this Canadian trip. So I said to my cousin, since you don't have your visa yet, my mom just released me now to go to South Africa.
Yeah.
Give me some of that money. Let me buy my ticket. I'll go to South Africa. Let me just see how it is.
Then I'll give it back to you.
I'll send it back to you. I bought my ticket. The same day my mom said that, I traveled that night.
Same day?
Same day.
Wow.
I landed in South Africa.
Yeah.
That same crazy guy, Felix, told me he's a drug dealer, picked me up. Got to
so
his house.
So you said it's fine. Let me just go to this.
I got to his house.
Wow.
Very reckless living guy.
Yeah.
I'll wake up in the morning praying in tongues, and he will look at me and say, bro, this your tongues is taking you nowhere. You have to join us in this business we do. I said, no, I will not do that.
Let me just
and my life started from there. So he had a shop.
But he allowed you to stay with him?
He allowed me to stay because obviously Felix told him. And also he charged me rent for staying. So I thank God that I had a little, money. So, and then life began. I started working in his business, in his shop in town. So he has a shop, but behind the scene, he sells drugs. And
so the shop
is
it's
just
a
cover up. Yeah. So I was going to the shop and I learned to cut hair in that shop, started, doing many things. And then after a while, I couldn't cope with his lifestyle. Then what happened is from the shop, I had gathered a little money and then I started a public phone in the street. And people would come, I'll make phone calls. I'll stand there the whole day from 7 a.m. to 10 p.m.
And they come and make calls and then pay you?
I was making money and paying me. That's how I survived up until I was by that public phone when I met my late wife.
So now let's talk about that. Because I met you in, what year did I come to South Africa with my husband?
It was in 2009.
Is it 11 or 12?
No,
9.
9 or 10. 2010.
And 10.
2010.
2010.
Yes.
That's when we met.
When we met.
And I came with my handsome man.
Oh, come on now.
Hey, 6'1".
And he preached fire in that conference. Oh my
everything.
God.
You must have bought new microphones.
Right.
Because he burnt all the microphones.
I know.
Fire. That's when I met you.
Right.
So maybe we can start from there because I met you with this beautiful girl. Right.
So, got married. We started our life. So I met her when I was by that public phone. We got married, started our life.
She came to make a call, or she saw this one.
No. The story of how I met her is interesting. The guy that I'm working in his shop, the drug dealer, is chasing her. And for some reason, she said no to the guy. Now, one day, she's traveling home to see
That's an interesting one. Yeah.
To see her mother.
Yeah.
And she was carrying 2 bags on her shoulders, going to the taxis to go and see her mom.
Yeah.
And she was passing through the shop And my friend that I'm living with, who
Yeah.
owns the shop, is there. I'm there. We're standing together, and he said to him, greeted me, and said, I'm going home. And she walked past us. So I said, hey, stop. Let me carry those bags for you. I said, in my place where I'm from, I don't just see women carrying things and I leave it. So I took the 2 bags, walked her to the taxi, and she traveled.
Did you think anything?
No. She took my number while took her to the taxi. She went off. As she got to her mother's home, she sent me a message. Thank you. No man has ever done this for me. And that's how our friendship began. So I then said to him, but my friend told me that he's been chasing you for the past 2 years.
Yeah.
And you've refused. She said, I don't want a man like that. I want a godly man. And
She was born again.
Yeah, she was born again. So she had her own experience, went through, she was about to get married to a guy, and a week to their wedding, she caught the guy cheating. And that led her to giving her life to Christ. She canceled the wedding and gave her life to Christ. And apparently, we now found out that we go to the same church.
With her?
Yes. So things were going on.
This is interesting.
I know. So things were going on behind the scene with my
Right.
friend. He didn't know that we were having a good conversation and all that. And eventually...
So he's still trying?
He's still trying. So one day, I was leaving church service. Guess who I saw at the entrance? It's her. I said, is this your church? She says, yes. I've been coming here for the past 2 years. And I'm like, wow, amazing. So we now connected. So the next Sunday, we now had a date. We said,
Right.
after service, let's have lunch. We had lunch, and it continued. And eventually, one day, I proposed. But before
So
I did,
did this
I
other
had
boy-
to, no, I moved out from my friend's house. Otherwise, he was going to shoot me. I knew I was a dead man. I moved out. So I knew that I was going to propose, and then I moved out a month before. Got my own place.
And he was still trying, but she was
He was
refusing.
still trying.
Hey.
So the day he saw our wedding, he gathered our hometown people
Yeah.
and told them that I took his woman. Yes. And they summoned me for meeting and made me pay a fine. I'm serious. They made me pay a fine for taking a woman from an elder. Because he was older than me.
Oh my
I'm
goodness.
telling you, man.
What?
You know, they made me pay a fine, but eventually we're married. They can't separate us.
Yeah.
And that's how our journey began. So eventually, the ministry where I was serving, that's where you
found
and
you.
Bishop came to preach.
Right.
So you came to minister, and at that time, I was an associate pastor in that church.
And let me just say, like, whoa, that woman could dress.
I know.
And then when I met her, she said, hold on. And she brought me the most amazing outfit.
Yes.
I overwore that outfit.
Wow.
Like I wore it, I think every other Sunday. That was the outfit.
Wow.
A blue one.
Wow.
But it was so beautiful.
Yes.
And the design was outstanding. I've never seen anything like that.
Right.
Yeah, very good
So
dress.
she was a fashionista. She
Yeah.
loved fashion. So she would make her own dresses, design them, make her own dresses.
Right.
So we continued until you guys came, and then we were in that church for, I think, just after you came, the next year, the Lord told me that it was time to start House of Treasures. This was in 2011.
2011. Yes,
Yeah.
so it was 2010 that we
Yeah,
came.
so in 2011, we were
yeah.
now released to go and start House of Treasures Ministries. And we
Right.
began in 2011 in September. And so our journey started the church. The Lord told me to stop my business. Now, at this point, I'm a multi-millionaire. I have made so much money.
Apostle
Oh my
Felix
God, I was
Okoh.
living large.
I hope you're not selling drugs now.
No, we don't do those things. I was in real estate.
Oh, real estate.
Yeah, I was in real estate. So
And made until you became a millionaire.
I was a millionaire.
You,
I
the
was-
boy that was sleeping in church
I'm telling
on a
you,
dead
the
bench.
Lord just prospered my business. In less than 2 years, I was a millionaire. Starting that business in 2014.
Okay, hold on. So here you are. You're a young man. You're a millionaire. Eh?
Yes.
You've come from
Very broken background.
broken background,
Right.
dysfunctional in every way.
Yes.
And then here you are with money. It didn't change you?
It didn't change me. I still
didn't
stayed the
change
same.
you?
Yes, it didn't. In fact, people were shocked, like, this dude.
And the way I'm told South African women are no joke.
No, of course.
They tell you what they want. They spell it out like Potiphar's wife.
No, they always
Joseph,
try.
it's what I want.
Let me tell you a story. One day I was in the Rolls Royce. Because, I mean, Rolls Royce, you find, just like in Kenya, I mean,
Yes.
I've driven around quite often now. I haven't seen a Rolls Royce yet.
Yeah.
Now, that's how it is in South Africa. So I was driving in the Rolls Royce, and I got to this traffic light, what we call robot in South Africa, and I stopped. And there were these three ladies on a BMW convertible. So they were beside me, and when they saw the car, they told me, wind down, wind down. So I wound down. The one of them screamed, will you marry me? I said, you know, I mean, but in all that, I lived a holy life. I mean, on my 22 years of marriage to my late wife, I never touched another woman. No other woman saw my nakedness. You know, I was faithful to my wife, you know, and then...
Do you know how many men can say that, though?
Well...
Like, honestly, Apostle, that is so powerful.
Yeah, that's my testimony.
That is amazing.
Yeah, so I lived a very honest life with my wife, and God really prospered us up until we then started the church, and then...
And she met you at the phone place,
Yes.
just standing there the entire day, working tirelessly.
And she married me in that place.
In that space.
I mean, when we got married, she was earning far more than what I get. So she was literally, her salary was paying the bills. You know, I used my money to pay rent.
Yeah.
My money I could get could cover the rent. And she bought grocery, even my own transport was from her.
She took care of that?
Yes.
Wow.
You know, so the woman was faithful and loyal to me.
Right.
You know, and then, so eventually we started the church, and then in 2018, she was diagnosed of stage 4 lung cancer. Now, first I was in Canada to preach.
Okay, hold on.
Yes.
Stage 4.
Stage 4.
She did not know 1, 2, 3.
The story is interesting. So we were in Canada. I went to preach in Canada. I was in a place called Edmonton. It's so cold. That place was like minus 56 or minus 60 degrees. And so she was under attack, and we took her to hospital, and they treated her. Then we went back to South Africa. We got back, no issues, no worries, you know. She kept saying, you know, once in a while she will feel this pain on her 2 sides of her ribs. She will go for treatment. We thought it was pneumonia.
Right.
Until one day the doctor said, no, man, you can't have pneumonia in summer. I mean, that's supposed to be a sickness you have during winter. Yes.
Yeah.
And he says, okay, look, man, you know what? He treated her, and she was fine.
Yeah.
She came back home. Then she now said, okay, look, man, this pain is continuing. Then the doctor said, I'm going to send you to a specialist to go and do a biopsy, because I've done an X-ray of your lungs. There are some things I'm seeing inside. I don't know what it is, but the X-ray is not showing me what it is. So they went to hospital. She drove herself there, did the biopsy. The doctor just called me and says, listen, I want you to come. I get there. He says to me, look, your wife has stage 4 lung cancer. We didn't find out quickly. It's been developing for years. We didn't find out quickly, and then another journey began. Oh my God.
Meanwhile, now you have children. How many children?
We have kids. I mean, no, it was actually in 2019.
2019?
Not 2018, 2019.
Yeah.
Because I remember in 2020, I then invited Benny Hinn. Yeah. I invited Benny Hinn for our conference to preach for us. No, it was 2019.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2019.
Right.
I invited Benny Hinn.
That this was found out.
No, we found out in 2018.
Right.
So the next conference we had, I invited Benny Hinn. And we didn't tell the church. At this time, my wife had started chemotherapy. Her hair had fallen off, and nobody knew, just me and the kids, and a few
How
of the
many
family.
kids?
At this point, we had 4 kids,
Okay.
3 boys and 1 girl.
Okay.
So nobody knew. And we, carried this thing until Benny Hinn came. So Benny Hinn preached for me for 2 days.
Yeah.
I told Benny Hinn in the office, I said, listen, man, this is why I invited you. I didn't actually invite you for the congregation. It's for my wife,
Hey.
I mean, I didn't care what it would cost.
Yeah.
I just wanted that woman alive. And so Benny Hinn came, ministered to her, prayed for her. And so while Benny Hinn was praying, she fell under the anointing, and her hair fell off, and she was bald. And the whole church was shocked. And Benny Hinn said,
And the what?
I got into the office, and Apostle told me that the wife was diagnosed with stage 4 lung cancer. The church started weeping. The church cried on that conference. So anyway, long story short, we then continued with life until
So hold on. Oh my gosh. How did she feel when the hair,
diagnosis came. Look,
when
the hair fell off.
off.
She didn't mind. At that point, she was under the anointing, so she was on the floor. And so, meanwhile, when the diagnosis came, they said she only has 3 months to live. So, I mean, it was like the final stage of lung cancer.
Hold on.
Yeah,
3
so
months.
the doctors only gave us 3 months. They said maximum. If she tarries so long, it's 6 months. So eventually, when Benny Hinn now exposed it, the whole church knew. They all started prayer. Everybody joined in prayer, joined in faith, and started believing God. And then eventually, she started her chemo in South Africa. Then they told us that there was a new technology that came out in the United States that was really good for lung cancer. So I sent her there, and I would finish preaching on a Sunday and fly out on Sunday night to the U.S. I did that for a whole year while she was in the U.S. doing that treatment. So I would go be with her in the week while she's in hospital doing the treatment and all that. The money I spent on ticket, spent on treatment. I remember one of the tests when I arrived, they said, before the next treatment, because they were going to increase the dosage. And they said she was going to go through a test. They sent us to the lab, and the lab told me that that test was $9,800. I said, just for test.
For test.
Not treatment.
Hey.
Test. And I paid that, and she did the test. And, so we went through all that up until 2021. No, 2021.
Yeah, 21.
Yes.
Yeah.
I obviously.
Are you thinking? Are you now? Okay, they said 3 months. She's already.
It's already 4
It's already
years.
a year.
4
years.
4 years.
4 years from
Yeah.
the time they said 3 months.
From the time they said 3 months.
So
she was actually
hopeful?
diagnosed 2018.
Yeah.
Is it 20? No,
Yeah.
2017.
2017.
17, yes. Because 2017. Yeah.
Because
was when
18,
we
19,
got-
2021 is
Yeah,
4
we
years.
invited Benny Hinn because I invited Benny Hinn in 2017 when we got the diagnosis.
Right.
But he couldn't make it.
So he came 2019,
He came
2 years
2019,
later.
2 years later. At this point, my wife was still going through treatment.
Right.
And her hair was bald because chemotherapy takes off your hair completely. So when he came, he obviously exposed it to the church, and we continued living our lives. So 4 years later now, in 2021, I was to minister for one of my sons in Zambia. We were both going. They bought our ticket.
Are you hopeful at this time?
No,
Are you
in my heart, there was never a thought that my wife would die, ever. Like, I had so much faith. I had messages. In fact, when they gave her the diagnosis, I took 90 messages of healing from Benny Hinn, Creflo, everybody that
got
had done
healed.
healing.
Yeah.
I put it in an iPod, and she would listen to it day and night. That iPod was in her ears day and night. the word of God was going in.
Listening on
So
healing.
we passed that 3 to 6 month stage. She kept living, life kept moving. She will go through treatment, take a break, because the chemo sometimes will have impact on her body. And then she will take maybe a 3 months break, continue treatment.
Right.
Up until 2021. I went to preach for we were going to preach for one of my sons.
Right.
So we were to leave. At that time, it was just after the lockdown. And so we were still doing COVID tests. You wear mask in the plane.
Yeah.
So on that Friday, I said to her, go do your COVID test. I went to do I had already done mine. My result was out. So she went, she left me in the house, drove to go and do her COVID test by herself. Did the test, came back, and she said to me, babes, you know what? I'm thinking, I'm doing another conference the next week. So this is 4 or 5 days later. I'm starting a conference in Chicago with Dr. Paul Eneche in Chicago.
In Chicago, yeah.
So I was to start from Tuesday to Thursday. Dr. Paul Eneche takes over from Friday and then finishes the conference by Sunday.
Right.
Then this Friday, as we are about to travel, she says to me, babes, let me stay. Please plead with my son, Pastor JC. Tell him I can make it. So that I can reserve my strength for me to travel to Chicago. Because
With
Chicago is a long trip.
Right.
Because our plan was we'll fly into Joburg on Monday, wait at the airport for our flight in the evening for Chicago.
So it was going to be one long journey.
Long trip.
Yeah.
So I then left to Zambia. Was in Zambia, finished preaching Friday, Saturday night. I finished and I called her. I said, man, baby, see the room where they put us is so palatial, so presidential. And then these guys had served me food in such a manner that was like, you know, when the Bible said, I will set a table before you in the presence. That was that kind of table in the presence of my enemy.
Yeah.
And so I took a video call and I showed her all the meal, the room. And she says, enjoy my husband. Enjoy. I remember those words, enjoy my husband, enjoy my husband. So we then hung up, ate, I went to sleep. 2:35 Sunday early morning. I put my alarm to wake up at 3 so I can start praying for the service in the morning.
Right.
At 9 o'clock. 2:35 a.m. my phone rings. And she says to me, babes, I just want to tell you that it's time for me to go. My assignment is done. My work is done. I'm like, okay. Like, I didn't know what to make of because I'm half awake from sleep.
Yes.
And half hearing I want to go. So I thought, you want to go to where? To the restroom or to where? He says, no, it's time for me to go. Like, she's saying it and talking normal. Like, not that, okay, I'm in pain. I'm about to die. No, she's looking at me. We're talking as though we're talking like this.
And she says,
no, it's time for me to go. I'm done. My assignment is done. So I said, okay. I just hung up. I called my kids. I said, please run to my room. Mommy is talking nonsense. And they all ran there. When they got there, they called me back on video call, put the phone, set a pillow and put the phone right in front of her. She was leaning on the bed and we were just all praying around her. She refused to pray. We prayed for an hour. And I told my son, I said, run downstairs, bring bread. Let's break bread, put juice in a cup. Let's all break bread. So we had communion as a family. She partook of the communion. And then after the communion, I said, let us all confess. I shall live and not die to declare the works of the Lord.
Yeah.
Everybody said, I shall live and not die. She never said it. I said to her, baby, can you say these words after me? I will live and not die.
Yeah.
I will live till I fulfill my destiny. I will live to a good old age to see my children's children. When I finish confessing, she says, I am not saying that. My assignment is done.
She told you that?
Yes.
Point blank?
Straight in front of the kids. And then I told her sister, who was at my place, call the ambulance, let them take her to hospital. Ambulance showed up. They brought the bed upstairs to carry her. She says, why do you guys bring bed? I can walk. I'm okay. Then as she was about to leave the room, they're still on video call. She says, hey, let me make my bed. I don't want my husband to come back to a room where the bed is not made. Made the bed herself, walked downstairs, went into the ambulance, got to the hospital. I started praying, prepared my message, went to preach, finished preaching. I told my host my ticket was flying back from Zambia on Monday.
Right.
I said, change it. I need to
I
fly
need to
back today.
leave.
They took me to the airport. They were able to change it, took me to the airport, and then I flew back to Joburg. My trip from Zambia to Johannesburg, I thought all manner of thinking. And I remember praying a prayer while we were before we landed in Joburg. I said, Lord, if it's your will, let her go. I said, if you have to heal this woman, I want you to heal her in such a way that if she leaves hospital, she is completely healed. I don't want a woman with pain, with any sickness. So it's either you do that or she goes.
Then if it's
so
your
I
will.
had my mind made up. I prayed that prayer before we descended into Joburg. So I was calm. Even when my sons, the protocol team, picked me up, I was so calm. As we left OR Tambo International Airport, there was an accident that kept me for 2 hours in traffic. And then my children would call, Dad, hey, she's not breathing. Dad, she's breathing now. Her fingers are moving. Dad, she just opened her eyes. Wow. And then, and they started talking. Dad, she's gone back again, So this was our conversation in the
Yes.
2 hours I'm in traffic.
Right.
We passed through that traffic, got to the hospital. 10 minutes before I arrived there, she breathed her last breath. My pastors were all there. My kids were all there. Everyone was there, So
10 minutes before you
before I
arrived.
arrived, she breathed her last breath. So I came in there, looked at her on the bed, just leaning on the bed. She wasn't laying flat. Like the way she was laying when they were all praying, maybe in this position.
Yeah.
And she was just there like she was sleeping. And I said, no, man. That at this time, the doctor came in now to come and check whether she has fully passed on. The doctor checked and says, no, she's gone. And so I held her head, and my two pastors, one held her leg, the other held the other leg. And we started praying. I kissed her, and then we started praying. And I said, you cannot leave. I held her head, just hugged her head. And the two pastors held one leg, the other leg. And I was praying in the spirit. And one of my pastors saw a vision. The Lord just opened her eyes. She saw Mom walking away with Jesus. And then she said they both turned back. And Jesus said to her, your husband is praying. You need to go back. She said to Jesus, I've taken permission from him. And they both walked away. And he stopped me from that prayer. He says, Dad, Mom is gone. Let's not pray. She's with Jesus. And so we stopped praying. Everybody thought I was going to be hysterical, crazy. Like, I just said, you know what? She had told me that she wants to go. It's okay. My kids couldn't believe. They looked at me. They're like, Dad, raise her back to life. You've raised the dead before. And I said, no. And we all left. They took her to the mortuary.
So now she's gone.
Yes.
The reaction is the kids are telling you to raise her up.
Yes.
And you're saying you are cool?
Yes.
Like...
I was so calm. I didn't cry. I just looked at her. And I think the reality didn't dawn on me.
So tell me the journey after. Like
so
now she's gone.
We buried her. I think for me, after the day of the funeral, it was like 60% of that pain kind of left. I knew, okay, this is closure. The 40% I dealt with over a period of time.
How did you deal with it?
How
was your experience? When did you ever cry?
Yeah, I cried the whole year. Even till after I married my wife, I was still crying. Like I got married, I was married. Inside the marriage, I'm crying. But I won't let her see me cry.
But you would be crying?
Yes. In fact, sometime this year, this is almost 3 years after.
Yeah.
I was climbing the staircase going to our room. I remember how I would hold her hands. I was just walking up the staircase. I went to the kitchen. I went downstairs to pray. I was alone. Finished prayer. I went to the kitchen, took a drink to go upstairs. And And as I was walking upstairs, I remember how I used to hold her hands and walk upstairs. I just busted out crying right at the staircase. My wife was sleeping.
Whew.
So it's a
so
it's a
it took,
journey. You can't. It's not possible to forget the person. I can tell you that one. It's not. There is no amount of anything that can happen for that person to leave you. It's not possible. You have to live with that person. It's not like live, but the memories. You can't forget because, somebody, for your case, you've lived for over 30 years. The memories, you can't erase it. Never.
You can't erase a memory like that.
It's not possible.
So for a full year, you would weep.
I would cry. I was single at that time. I would go preach.
Are you thinking about marriage? Because men, that's the other thing, that men
No.
usually...
In the initial stages, I didn't. I think the first 3 months, I couldn't think of anyone else. In fact, I remember my wife's younger sister coming into our room and saying she wants to pack up my wife's things. After about 3 months, I told her, I said, "Are you crazy? Like, take away your sister's things from my room."
How?
She's still here. There was a time I used to come into my room, I would say, "Baby, say something." Like, it was like I was hallucinating. But I would go preach. So when my late wife died, one of my friends flew in from Houston, and my friends told him and said, "Look, man, don't leave this man alone. Take over the church for 1 year, for a month at least, and preach." And this is what I also want to say to you. I'm glad that we are doing this just after we have finished the funeral of my dear friend. Immediately I finished that. The funeral was Saturday. My friend preached on Sunday. I told my friend, "I can't sit down. Please, go back home. I want to start preaching." And then, so I started from the next Sunday preaching. And we continued live and preaching and all that. And I didn't think of any woman or marriage. At this time, also women started approaching me.
Hey, tell me about that.
All kinds of men. It was terrible.
Tell us, that is very,
people
very
would send
critical.
me naked. One day I stood in our pulpit and I said, "If you ever send me your naked picture..."
Somebody sent naked?
Not one, not two, not... I said, "If you ever send me your naked pictures, I'm going to put..." You see how big this screen is? I will put that picture here so everybody can see.
Somebody would send a naked, would stop.
That was when the picture stopped.
They would send you directly, man of God.
In fact, when my wife was in the mortuary, I had a prophetess, doesn't belong to our church, a prophetess or a lady who sent me a message saying that, "Look, I went through the same ordeal. Can we meet? Let's rub minds together." I'm like, dude, my wife is still in mortuary. Like, how insensitive can this woman be? So, but I went through all that phase.
So when they would send you pictures, oh my God.
I'll just delete, I'll delete, you can't keep such things, otherwise it will just corrupt your mind.
Yeah.
These people are available. It's like, just say, "Okay, where are you?" That's it. That "where are you" test will send you to a place you don't want to go, So they will just send, I'll press delete.
Right.
So I went through that phase, and then, and also there was a friend of mine who we met, and we very matured woman. Her husband also passed, so we became friends. We started talking. Just talk. I needed somebody to talk to, a female figure who's high up there, Christian, loves God.
Yeah.
So we would talk, we would spend time. So she took me out, I took her out, this was after like 3 months.
Yeah.
But, a day came where I was beginning to like her. And she even was beginning to like me now, But one day...
Do you think it was like
I think it
vulnerability, like when you're vulnerable,
yeah,
and then
I think
you
so.
open
And
up?
partly, yeah, well, look, she's single, I'm single,
Yeah.
But one day, the Lord showed me a vision that she was not my wife. So that's when, it was after then I actually knew that God was interested in who I married. So when God showed me that vision, I went into prayer. God told me, "She is not the one. She cannot nurture this church." God wasn't even saying she can't take care of you. She cannot nurture the church. That's what God told me.
Whoa. So you told
So
her?
it means that as a minister of the gospel, you don't just marry anybody, not even because they are Christians. God is interested in who his servants marry.
Because his church is
It's at
very
stake.
important.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know. So then I
Hey.
went into a 7 days prayer and fasting, and I told God that day, I said, Father, from today, I remember making that vow. From today, I will never look for a wife ever. Anyone you have prepared for me, show me. Bring the person to me. And I left it. Never thought of woman again, just kept preaching the gospel. I'll take invitations like all over the world. I'll finish preaching on Sunday, fly out, preach in the week, come back, preach, fly out to another country, preach.
And how are the kids?
Well, at this point, they were in school, so they coped very well because my son was writing metric at that time. And they coped so well. We had prayed, the church really prayed for my family. So they were able to take the heat. You know, I know they were healing on their own. They would lock themselves in their rooms. I didn't want to interfere, but in the evenings, we'll go out for dinner, you know, and when they'll write exams, they'll order Uber Eats, order food, you know. So for almost a whole year, I ate restaurant food. I mean, I ate, like my son would cook maybe once or twice a week.
Right.
The rest, 5 days in the week, we'll eat from restaurants. Either we order in or we'll go out to eat. So, and I really got tired of that. Got tired, I'll clean my room, wash my clothes. I fired our maid. I didn't want a woman around me because I had to build boundaries.
Right.
I sent our maid home. I didn't want any woman in the house except me and my kids.
Yeah.
So it was me, my son, and my daughter. The other 2 boys had left the home. They were working on their own, you know.
Right,
They were actually kids that my wife brought into the marriage.
Oh.
They're twins. So they've left
They're
home.
twins?
Yes.
Oh, wow.
You know, so they've left home. So it was
Yeah.
just me and my son and my daughter.
Right.
You know, my biological now from my, so the other 2 are my stepsons.
Yeah.
So, and you know, we lived our life for that whole year like that, serving the Lord, just go to church, come back, pray together, you know, and my kids are just amazing. How
Wow.
God really helped them to deal with that year. And then eventually, one day, after I prayed that prayer, I'm no longer looking for a wife at all. And I meant it.
Yeah.
And I lost focus. I didn't think of women anymore. Nothing like, okay, who will I marry? That distraction left me.
Yeah.
Because I really made a vow and I committed it to God. So one day, I finished preaching and I came back from, it was a Wednesday midweek service. My late wife's phone is in my drawer. So I opened the drawer just to check her messages. I checked maybe once in 2-3 days. Who sent message, insurance companies, banks, you know, whatever messages she had received. And then I would go through to her Facebook, and then go through to her Instagram. Just everywhere message would come in, emails. I finished all that, went to her Instagram. And then I opened her Instagram, and I was scrolling. Then on her page, I saw one of her friends posted a picture of her and my beautiful wife, my wife now. She was wearing a red dress.
Yes.
And I saw it and I went past it. Didn't mean anything. At this point, my head is not on any wife. And I went past it, switched off the phone, went to bed. Woke up in the morning, did a 3 hours prayer. My morning prayers is 3 hours in the morning.
Yeah.
And then I'll go to the office. I actually study in the office. You know, I don't do my study at home. So I would go to once I finish praying 3 hours, I dress up, go to the office, study in the office, and then do my work for the day. Finish praying for 3 hours, and as I just said in Jesus' name, walk to go and get water from the fridge. The picture of this
Red
woman
dress.
in red dress came back.
Hey.
And it was so strong that I'm not talking came back as in you thought of something. It became such a strong thought that I even said, I bind this image in the name of Jesus.
You,
Yes.
Because
Then-
you were not thinking in that
No,
direction.
I was not.
And you didn't want to
No.
be led.
I don't know this
by
woman from
flesh
a
at
bar
all.
of soup.
Eh?
How can it be picture? If God wants to give a wife to an apostle, not from a picture or a Facebook or a social media, that is madness. How will I even explain to my congregation that Jesus didn't appear and say, thou art my servant, this is your wife? Then I would tell them, oh, I
saw
found
a
a wife.
picture.
Yeah. How will you explain that? So anyway, the next day, I finished this time around, I prayed 4 hours. And the image only shows up when I finish praying. The image came back again. This woman in the red dress. This picture stayed in my head. By the third day, I said, no, Lord, this is not normal. Are you saying something to me?
It kept coming.
Yes. And now, when I finished prayer the third day, I said, Lord, this is not normal. This is not me. Are you saying something to me? And I took my late wife's phone and called that her friend. And I said, ma'am, you know who's calling? He says, obviously, I know it's my friend's number you are calling from.
Yeah.
I said, who is the woman you were standing with wearing red dress? You posted that picture 2 days or 3 days ago. She says, oh, her name is Pastor Bulelwa. She's a pastor of a branch of Christ Embassy. You know, she's a good, gave me her CV. Like, that woman said, oh, she's like, Bulelwa came from heaven. She's God ordained. I said, okay.
She gave you the history.
No, like in like 2 minutes, she told me so much about her.
Wow.
And then I said, please, if you don't mind, give me her number. He says, okay, let me call her. I would then get her number for you. And then I said, okay. Then she called me back and gave me the number. Then I called Bulelwa. I said, hello, my name is Apostle Felix. I didn't even know if I mentioned Apostle because I didn't want her to know who I was. And so I said, look, I just saw this image on social media and I would like to know who you are. You know, I would like. She said to me, look, you know, we have Healing Stream. Pastor Chris this is our weekend of Healing Stream, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And she's telling me connect. You know, she sent me links to connect. I'm like, dude, I'm not sick. I don't need Pastor Chris. I'm an apostle. I'm looking for you. What is all this Healing Stream? She did that Friday. Saturday morning, she woke me up with links on how to connect. I said, woman, I am not sick.
I'm not.
What is all this?
Who wants to connect?
So, but anyway, then eventually when I said to her, I said, since you are busy, let's meet on Monday. She said, okay, I hope I will not be busy.
Yeah.
But after work, I'll meet you because she's working and pastoring the church. And so on Monday, we agreed to meet in a restaurant. So we eventually met in that restaurant. As we sat down, the Spirit of God said, this is the one I've prepared for you. So we were sitting
Hold
opposite.
on. First day?
First day.
You've never seen this woman from Adam?
No.
Never known her? First day.
First
You're seeing her
day.
like this face to face. God says that's your woman.
This is the woman I've prepared for you. As I heard that, I took my chair. We were sitting opposite. And I moved my chair and went just by her side. I said, turn to me. I said, I came here to marry you. I didn't come here to do boyfriend and girlfriend. She looked at me like in disbelief, like, you don't even chase a woman. What is your problem? Like, really, is this how to marry? What kind of thing is this? Like, on first day, you're already proposing that you want to marry.